On March 21, 2025, inside the Oval Office, President Donald Trump announced that Boeing had won the contract to build America's first sixth-generation fighter. The initial engineering and manufacturing contract alone was worth $20 billion. The aircraft was called the F-47, but the announcement wasn't the real story, because long before the world had ever heard the name 47, the United States Air Force had already been testing the technologies behind it in complete secrecy, which raises a question: what exactly had America been building without anyone knowing? The F-47 didn't appear because America wanted a better fighter. It appeared because the rules of air warfare were changing. For more than 30 years, the United States enjoyed something no other country could match: complete air superiority. From the Gulf War to Kosovo to Iraq to Afghanistan, American aircraft could usually fly with overwhelming freedom. That advantage became something the military almost expected. But while America was fighting those wars, its competitors were studying them. They weren't trying just to build a better F-22. They were trying to build a battlefield where the F-22 could no longer dominate. Instead of matching American aircraft one for one, they invested in something different: long-range missiles capable of striking air bases hundreds of miles away, integrated radar networks designed to detect low observable aircraft, electronic warfare systems built to confuse, jam, and disrupt, and a new generation of stealth fighters designed not to defeat America yesterday, but to defeat America tomorrow. For the first time since the end of the Cold War, the Air Force had to confront an uncomfortable possibility. What if winning the next war wasn't about having the world's best fighter, but simply getting that fighter to the battlefield before it was detected, tracked, or destroyed? That question changed everything, because suddenly building another F-22 wasn't enough. Building another F-35 wasn't enough. The Air Force didn't need a better version of yesterday's fighter. It needed something built for an entirely different kind of war. Not just more stealth, not just more speed, but more range, more information, more survivability, and the ability to command an entirely new generation of autonomous aircraft. The solution would eventually become the F-47, but before engineers could design it, before Boeing could build it, before anyone could announce it, the Air Force had to do something it had never attempted before. It had to create the future of air combat without letting the world know it even existed. When the F-47 was announced, it felt like it had appeared out of nowhere. One day, the world had never heard its name. The next, it was being described as the future of American air power. But programs like this don't appear overnight. In reality, the F-47 had been taking shape for years. Long before President Trump stood inside the Oval Office, the United States Air Force had already accepted a simple reality. Building the world's most advanced fighter in public was no longer possible. Every satellite, every cyber attack, every intelligence agency was watching. So instead, the Air Force built the aircraft, the only way it believed it still could, in complete secrecy. In 2014, it quietly launched the Next Generation Air Dominance program. Unlike the F-22 or the F-35, this wasn't designed around a single airplane. It was designed around a single objective: regain the advantage as before anyone realized America had lost it. Almost everything was classified. No official renders, no factory rollout, no public prototype, nothing. For years, the program barely existed, outside a handful of secure facilities. Then, years later, the Air Force admitted something extraordinary. The experimental aircraft behind NGAD had already accumulated hundreds of flight hours. That single statement changed everything, because it meant the hardest technologies weren't theoretical anymore. They had already flown, they had already been tested, and many of the biggest risks had already been eliminated before the world. Ever heard the name F-47, which explains why the announcement looked so sudden? To everyone watching, America had just revealed a brand new fighter, but inside those classified hangars, the future had been under construction for years. The question now was no longer could it be built? The question was, who would build it? For decades, there was one name that defined American stealth fighters: Lockheed Martin. The company had built the F-22 Raptor, then the F-35 Lightning II, F-22 aircraft that shaped American air power for an entire generation. So when the Air Force prepared to choose its next fighter, almost everyone expected the same result. Lockheed would win again. It didn't. On March 21st, 2025, the Air Force announced that Boeing had secured the $20 billion engineering and manufacturing development contract. The decision shocked the defense industry because Boeing wasn't the obvious choice. Its commercial division was struggling. Its defense business had faced years of delays, cost overruns, and criticism. To many observers, Lockheed looked like the safer bet. So why Boeing? The answer wasn't simply a better design. It was a different philosophy. For years, Boeing had invested billions of dollars preparing for exactly this moment. Nearly $0.8 billion was spent expanding its military aircraft facilities in St. Louis, Missouri. More than 0.1 million square feet of new manufacturing space was built before the winner was even announced. Boeing wasn't preparing to compete, it was preparing to build. But winning the contract didn't mean the hardest part when was over. In many ways, it was just beginning, because the F-47 would demand technologies that no operational fighter had ever combined into a single aircraft. And that meant almost every assumption about fighter design had to be challenged. Winning the contract was only the beginning. Building the F-47 meant solving problems that previous generations of fighter aircraft were never designed to face. For decades, speed, maneuverability, and stealth defined air superiority. But the Air Force believed future wars would demand something different. The next fight would likely take place across the Pacific, where distances are measured in thousands of miles, not hundreds. A fighter might have to travel for hours before even reaching the battlefield, operate inside some of the world's most heavily defended airspace, and survive against advanced radar networks, electronic warfare systems, and long-range missiles. That changed the design from the very beginning. Although the final aircraft remains classified, concept art and industry analysis suggest the F-47 abandons the traditional fighter layout. Instead of prominent vertical tails and sharp angles, it is expected to use a tailless blended wing design that dramatically reduces its radar signature, while creating more space for fuel, sensors, and internal weapons. The challenge is that removing the tail also removes much of an aircraft's natural stability. Instead of relying on aerodynamic balance alone, the F-47 is expected to depend on advanced flight control computers, making thousands of corrections every second, allowing an intentionally unstable aircraft to fly with remarkable precision. Range was just as important. The Air Force wanted an aircraft capable of operating much farther from its bases than the F-22 or F-35. To achieve that, the F-47 is expected to use adaptive cycle engines that can switch between maximum efficiency during long-range missions and maximum thrust during combat, giving pilots the ability to fly deeper into contested airspace without sacrificing performance. But perhaps the biggest breakthrough wasn't the aircraft itself. It was the role the Air Force wanted it to perform. The F-47 wasn't designed to fight alone. It was designed to command an entire team. For more than a century, fighter aircraft were designed around a simple idea: one pilot, one aircraft, one mission. The F-47 changes that. Instead of fighting alone, it is expected to command a network of autonomous drone wingmen known as Collaborative Combat Aircraft, or CCAs. Each drone can perform a different role. Some will carry extra air-to-air missiles, allowing the F-47 to strike targets far beyond the weapons it carries itself. Others will fly ahead, searching for enemy aircraft, radar sites, and missile launchers long before the pilot can see them. Some will specialize in electronic warfare, jamming enemy radar and communications. Others may deliberately expose themselves, drawing enemy missiles away from the manned aircraft. Every drone shares information with the F-47 in real time, giving the pilot a picture of the battlefield that no single aircraft has ever had before. Instead of controlling one fighter, the pilot becomes the commander of an entire combat formation. That changes everything. For decades, success in air combat depended on building the better aircraft. The F-47 suggests the future may belong to the side with the better network, but creating that future comes with enormous risks, because the more advanced the system becomes, the more difficult it becomes to build. The F-47 is one of the most ambitious military programs the United States has ever attempted. The initial engineering and manufacturing contract alone was worth $20 billion. Each aircraft is expected to cost around $300 million, making it the most expensive fighter ever built. But the Air Force believes the price reflects something much bigger than a new aircraft. It represents a completely different approach to air warfare, a fighter with greater range than its predecessors, stealth designed for the next generation of air defenses, advanced sensors capable of processing enormous amounts of battlefield information, adaptive engines built for missions thousands of miles from home, and autonomous drone wingmen designed to multiply the effectiveness of a single pilot. If the program succeeds, the F-47 could shape American air power for decades. If it fails, it will become one of the most expensive defense experiments in history. The truth is, no one outside a small circle of officials and engineers knows exactly what the finished aircraft will look like. Many of its capabilities remain classified. Its first operational missions are still years away, and its greatest test has not yet arrived. Because no matter how advanced an aircraft appears on paper, history has always judged fighter jets the same way, not by the promises made when they are announced, but by how they perform when the shooting starts. The F-47 has already won the contract. It has already secured the funding. Now it has to prove that it can secure the future of American air superiority. Every generation of fighter aircraft has reflected the era that created it. The F-15 was built for Cold War air combat. The F-22 was built to dominate the skies after it. The F-35 connected air warfare into a single network. The F-47 goes one step further. It isn't simply another fighter, it's an attempt to redefine how air wars are fought. Whether that gamble succeeds won't be decided in Washington. It won't be decided inside Boeing's factories. It will be decided the first time the F-47 faces the kind of battlefield it was designed for. Until then, the world's most secretive fighter remains one of its biggest unanswered questions.